Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name's David and we are in month 2 of the Terminator challenge. We're on to vehicles and this time it is the Resistance, so let's get straight to it. Here we are. This is what we're going to do. A nice cheap toy. Your models don't have to be all that expensive. There is a truck like this in Terminator Genisys when they are making their attack on Skynet. So let's get this converted. Now we aren't going to be making the exact truck that was in Terminator Genisys. That's what this one looks like. And it's an awful lot more in the way of conversion than I want for this video. The idea for this is to give you guys an idea of what you can do with basically a cheap toy and get them ready for your games. First thing to do is get it out of the packaging, and remember, keep these twist ties, don't throw them out, because they do make excellent rebar in ruined building models. Now this is another one of those projects that I have been planning on doing for absolutely ages. I think I've had this toy for about 4 years and now is the time to do something with it. First thing we need to do is get it all disassembled, because that is going to help us an awful lot in terms of ease of conversion and ease of painting. Okay, that's the wheels. Oh, there we go. Now I think I will probably leave that in one piece because that will take a paint job by itself quite nicely. But I definitely did want the wheels detached from it because I don't want to go back over them once they've been spray painted. Okay, I'm going to show you how I do Resistance vehicles, and they are very, very simple. All it consists of is a few extra armour plates, a different paint job, and then it's all done. Now if you want some ideas on how you can do ruined armour plates, and also there are painting and weathering techniques if you want your models a little bit on the more rusty side, have a look at the barricades video that I did. I'll leave a link up top, and that gives you a whole load of ideas for, you know, sheet metal, riveted metal, things like that. However, I am going to be doing this in the same style as I did all of the rest of my Resistance vehicles, so that I've got consistency across the range. And for that, I am going to be using this stuff. Now this is from a 3D printer. It is what they call the raft, and when you're doing a 3D model on some printers you do a raft and that adheres it to the bed, and then your model is actually built up from that. The good thing about the raft is that it does look like riveted metal and that kind of thing, which is brilliant for our scale of model, so I will be using some of this extensively. The parts that I am going to be converting, I am probably going to leave the roof of the cab alone. The main part of the addition is going to be around the front, the grille and the doors on the cab. I will probably also do a little bit of reinforcing just across the wheels on the back on the trailer, and because they had one in the movie, I'm going to be adding a remote controlled endoskeleton into the cab. Nick that idea from them. So let's get some pieces cut out. Just give you a little bit of a trim there. Get that stuff off the back. Okay, that means that's going to sit a bit flatter, that's good. I want it there. I'll just trim it at the bottom there, and then that will fit around the headlights without impeding them. And you know, I think that is probably going to be fine for the front. Okay, apologies, mistake on my part. The camera was not recording, but just to recap, I got all the parts cut out and they are glued in place. You don't need a great deal of parts to make a difference to the model, so all I've done is put some reinforced grille work on the front and on the doors, and then, as I said earlier, I've put some reinforcing bars over the tyres on that trailer. Now this lot can all go off and have a quick spray job to tie everything together, and while that is busy drying I will get on and add the Terminator model inside the cab. Okay, next thing that needs to be done is to get an endoskeleton into the driver's seat. Now unfortunately the driver's seat does look a little bit out of scale, and the steering wheel is moulded on and is very low profile, but we will do the best that we can. Now, I did save a crawler and some other parts specifically for this, so I'm definitely going to have to take or trim the trailing wires off this guy. And a quick test fit shows that I'm also going to need to trim and reposition that head. Alright, leave that to dry for a few minutes. And there we go, that's the arms in place. Yeah, I think he's okay. I'll give him a quick paint job and then we can start reassembling everything. Okay, quick update on where we are at. All of the additions have been made and it has been undercoated. And the Terminator endoskeleton also has a coat of paint on it. Let me get him out because I was test fitting everything back together. So there he is, all nicely painted. Now, one track for new players and old idiots like me, because I made this mistake. When you are making additions to your models, just do a couple of test fittings with all the parts to make sure that everything will fit back together. The mistake that I made was not taking into account the fact that the axles and tyres were actually quite wide and protrude out past the wheel well of the model. So when I originally fitted these plates to the side, you couldn't actually get the axle back in. But all I have done is, well, prise them off, put a little bit of sprue in to act as a spacer, give it a little bit of a gap, and now that fits in quite nicely. I will get these assembled and we will get on to the external painting part. Okay, we've got it reassembled and it's not looking too bad so far, if I do say so myself, but there is a little bit of painting left to do. I would estimate no more than 4 coats, if that. Let's just disconnect that. First thing is we're going to have a wee dry brush just of a light grey, just to make it look not so flat, just to pick out a little bit of those edges. Now, because these are quite flat panels, when you're doing it you may want to do it sort of like with a high lining rather than a dry brush. The only reason I'm going for a dry brush is because it is such a large area, and because it's post-apocalyptic, sort of those very clean lines don't necessarily make it look sort of worn through. When you're on a vehicle, be very careful when you're going around things like windscreens and windows, because you don't want any paint going off over onto what should be glass. And just looking at it, I've realised that when I said 4 coats, I was actually incorrect, because I've still got to do the headlights as well. Right, dry brushing's all done, so we'll go for the next colour, and this is black. Now, areas that we want black on this particular model. Well, first off, we want it on all of that metal grille work, because we're going to be dry brushing that with metal, and we need a black background just to make it pop. The second is on the straps along the bottom where that sort of fabric cover comes down. We want to pick all of those out just to give it that little bit of extra spot detail. So I will get on with that. I'm going to swap back to my larger brush just to get those big areas of panels done. And yeah, I've gone over a little bit onto the wheels there, but that's not too much of a problem, because I am going to be doing a little bit of a weathering colour on those wheels. Okay, let's get the last little couple of colours on here. So this is just a dark metal, if I can ever get the lid off it. Old style bolt gun metal from GW. And we're just going to give the extra armour plates a quick dry brush with this. Just being a little bit careful, because we don't want it going over onto those other colours. And while we're here, let's just have a wee bit of it on the mirrors. I've just remembered that there's all of these sort of binding shackles down the edge of the trailer, and they need to be picked out as well. Almost there. Let's have just a little spot of white. we'll do those headlights. I hate doing flat white because you always end up having to do more than one coat because it ends up patchy. Might do just a wee bit touch up on that once it's dry, but we are now onto the very final coat. Now this is going to be just a little bit of weathering, and I'm only going to use tan. Normally I may use whites and greys and blacks as well, but I only want a small amount of weathering on this. Obviously you guys on your vehicles, you can go to town with rust effects and things like that. It's all in that sort of barricades video, but I just want it to look as if it's kind of newly done, but it has been used. So first thing is on the tyres. Then we'll just have a little bit up around the mud guards, just to give the impression that, yeah, it's been going through dusty ground. There's been a bit of a kick up, a little bit along the bottom on the kind of underside. Not forgetting the back, because obviously that's going to be the main place where dust is kind of kicked up behind it. Then let's have some up in those panels where the wheels are going to be. Again along undersides. You're all done. Let's get some photos of it on the table. And that, my good folks, is a cheap and easy way to do resistance vehicles. It is entirely up to you how much addition or modification or how much in the terms of weathering and painting that you want to do on it. I'm perfectly happy with this. A couple of things. One, why did I do a truck? Page 92, Scenario 2. The attack on LAX in 2029 needs a truck. We have a truck. The other thing, when you get toys like this, just give them a double check to see if there are any hidden features. This was sitting the other way around in the box, and I didn't realise, not until quite late on in the build, but this whole side panel actually flips down. I'm not going to do that because it is quite stiff and I don't want to ruin the paint job. But I could have certainly, you know, added a whole load of decoration on the inside, weapons racks, computer terminals, the whole shebang. Maybe I'll do that later on. But that is it for this one. If you've enjoyed it, if you are enjoying following along on this journey of the Terminator Genisys Slow Grow Challenge, then please do hit the like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now. It's this one that's making noise in the background. It's Saxon, and he's a div.